All of us are warriors in the battle of life. Something antagonistic is sure to come in our life. So how do we battle with that? That is a lesson of Arjuna. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.
What can be some of the beauty that one experiences through the power of a deity?
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata. I will myself take up arms in order to fight adharma, he says. Now, all our gods always have weapons. Why? They're not kept there for puja, you know. Dwarka was an amazing, amazing city. If you read Dwarkanath, it was the most amazing city. Today, that Dwarka is still to be seen under the sea.
Who are sincere bhaktas, as they get closer to the form, they all start talking about experiencing the formless.
Hinduism is the only path given to us in which this is the mistake which has been made by every other.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
It's such an honor to have this passage of questions to you.
Thank you.
So, Ma, my first question is actually it just came to me as I was writing. You've been teaching the Uddhav Gita. I have a chance to tune into your Instagram live every Sunday. So, my first question actually is, who was Uddhava? And, people always know the Bhagavad Gita. So what is the Uddhav Gita and how is it different from the Bhagavad Gita?
Actually, the Uddhav Gita and the Bhagavad Gita are totally different, because Bhagavad Gita was given at a time when they were in the very midst of the battle of life. It was not just the Kurukshetra war, but it was the battle of life as far as they were concerned. And Arjuna was a warrior, of course, a Kshatriya, and he was in the prime of his life, and he was all set for the war. And what set him off was the fact that he suddenly, Bhagwan kept the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona. He did not keep it in front of Duryodhana. Had he kept the chariot in front of Duryodhana, the whole thing would not have happened. But he deliberately kept it in front of Bhishma and Drona. And that set off a spark of emotion in Arjuna. And that is what happens when we are emotionally involved. Our discriminative power is totally lost. And we can't think straight. That's what happened to Arjuna. He looked at them and he said, these are people who fondled me on his lap. I had no father. He is the one who gave me all the life of a father. And as for whatever I know in this for this war, it has been taught to me by Dronacharya. And am I to take up arms against them? Now, it's not as if he did not know all this before, but the fact is, Krishna, psychological work on him, so that he had to go through all this, so that he could give this, because then only it's important to us. Because we are always ridden by emotions, always our emotional capacity takes over intellectual thought, and colors, and colors are actions. So this is the teaching that Arjuna, because Arjuna's teaching is to every common man. All of us are warriors in the battle of life. And in one way or other, we have to have some, something antagonistic is sure to come in our life. So how do we battle with that? That is a lesson of Arjuna. Not only that, very important thing for the youth of today. Just because we think that Sanatana Dharma is, totally against, is totally ahimsa, it is not ahimsa. Because now all our gods always have weapons. Why? They're not kept there for puja, They're meant for use. Against what? Adharma. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata. Adharma, I will myself take up arms in order to fight adharma, he said. So that is a lesson for today's youth. We are not to sit back and, put for your neck and tell them to chop it off if you want. I will not. The gods are not going to help you. The gods will help you only if you help yourself. They have given you enough. Every human being has been given enough to safeguard, and he who does not safeguard his dharma will see that it's taken away from him, which is what is happening in India today, and it's a very, very important. People simply sit and read the Bhagavad Gita thinking that is give them moksha. It is not so. It is a teaching to be put into daily life. So that is one of the, and all your Swadharma. What is your Swadharma? That's the main thing. You have to, whatever happens, you have to do your Swadharma. And that Swadharma has to be done without emotional entanglement.
So sorry for the interruption, but 94.3% of you are regular viewers of this podcast and haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So if you're enjoying the conversation so far, can I please request you to hit subscribe? Can we break down this concept of Swadharma?
So Swadharma is that which, the type of action which you, by nature, has suited you for.
Swadharma.
Nature has suited you for that. You are, as he says before, even those of us who have gone through so much of sadhana, it's possible that we don't never finish it in this life. Now, what happens to that sadhana? Arjuna asked that question. Will I not be, like a torn cloud, all the things we have? He says, no, nothing. He says, Naha kalyanakat kaschit durgadim tada gacchati. He said, no durgadi, no bad thing can ever happen to someone who has started to do some evolutionary sadhana. That will be taken up in another life, and that will give us what? So what is that? Why have you born in such and such a place, such as a time, and such a parents and so on? That is a given, that is a nature supporting you to carry on with your life as it was, to pick up the threads of what you have done. So Arjuna was a Kshatriya, pure and simple, and it was his obvious Swadharma to fight against the adharma which was going on in that life. The citizens demanded it. His duty to his citizens demanded it, because they were, as you know, when they left, all the citizens followed Yudhishthira. They were all prepared to go to the forest with him. So his duty as a ruler lay with his, as in Ramayana, the whole Ramayana is about that. The duty of a ruler is first to the citizens and not your own. Even Rama was prepared to, his beloved wife he was prepared to give up. Here he is not asked for that. He is asked only to fight against those who are supporting adharma. Both Bhishma and Drona could have done. They could have done as Vidura did. Vidura said when this happened, he threw his bow down and he walked out of the court. He said, I will not have anything more to do with these adharmis. They could have done that. They didn't do that. They chose to support adharma, and therefore they had to be punished. So that is a very important lesson to all of us, especially in this time, that we should not support adharma. And if we see it, we should fight against it, not ask the gods to help. The gods will only help us if we help ourselves. It's a very important thing. Once Arjuna took up Gandivam had fallen down. Once he took it up and was ready to fight, Krishna helped him immediately. Until then he said, no, it's your problem. So that is what...
So is it because we are more of us who are Kshatriyas and Vaishyas in today's world? That's why Bhagavad Gita is so prevalent today.
Today what we need, we're all men of action, as I said. We are not people who are prepared, even if we are old, we're still not prepared to leave everything and go to a hermitage or ashram or anything. So naturally it's a very important part of this thing, like how to act when you are in the battle of life. In one way or the other, we are in the battle. As I said, in the Treta Yuga, the battle was fought in the heavens between Asuras and Devas. Next, in the Satya Yuga. And Treta Yuga, it is fought between the Rakshasa and the Deva, who was the Rama. And in Dwapara Yuga, it was fought within the same family itself. And in this Yuga, it's being fought inside us. Every person is his own enemy and his own friend, So that is why it's a very important part of our, learning, the understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. The esoteric meaning also is very important.
So, Ma, thank you for touching some light on the Bhagavad Gita. If I may ask about I'm very curious about the Uddhav Gita because it's lesser heard, lesser known, and there are now already so many students of the Bhagavad Gita who have, I would say, many have studied it sincerely, many are willing to study it sincerely, and then we hear a word called the Uddhav Gita. So, what is that? I'll come back to Bhagavad Gita. Sorry if I'm taking
No. It's very good.
a different course, but I was actually very curious about that as a student of Bhagavad Gita. Oh, there's an Uddhav Gita. So what is? I of course read about Uddhava in your book, but it would be nice to hear a little bit about Uddhav and his and the Uddhav Gita.
Yeah, the Uddhava Gita actually is kept at the end. It comes from just as the Bhagavad Gita has been taken out of the Mahabharata, Uddhava Gita has been taken out of the Bhagavad Purana, which is actually the life of Krishna. Bhagavad Purana, in that Vyasa, as Narada told, Vyasa was very upset. Even though he had written so many 18 Puranas and the Mahabharata, he still did not have peace of mind. Narada told him, it's because you have not written enough of the supreme incarnation of a Purnavatar of Lord Krishna. That's why he wrote the Bhagavad Purana. So the 12th book, I think, of the Bhagavad Purana is the whole of the Uddhava Gita. Because at that time, Sri Krishna, you can imagine, he did his duty without any attachment, like the lotus leaf in the water, as he said in Bhagavad Gita. And when he saw that the Yadava clan had become so terribly, they had lost all their previous, they were very highly evolved people at one time, but slowly, too much of good life, it's like we're having too much to eat, too much to drink, too much of drugs, everything. That naturally erodes into our spiritual life. So that they became debauchery, and this thing was rampant in his own clan.
This was after the Mahabharata.
Much
after everything had been won.
36 years afterwards.
Yeah.
The time for Gandhari's curse had come to pass. Gandhari had cursed Krishna. Your own clan will see. The widows would be crying at one time. He said, just as my son's widows are crying now. And he says, thank you, mother. It is something which has to happen. So, he's totally detached, whatever it is, whoever it is. And then, so he decided, it was a small thing, some curse of the rishis and all. We don't want to go into the story now. But at that time, there was, the rishis told them that they will all die with their own mistake. So then, and many bad omens were seen in Dwarka. It was an amazing city. If you read Dwarkanath, it was the most amazing city. Today, that Dwarka is still to be seen under the sea. It's still existing in its pristine state as it was described in the Bhagavad Purana. So but everywhere they saw, signs of decay and decadence, both in the nature, both in the buildings and in the nature of the people. So and Uddhava had gone at that sometime somewhere. So Sri Krishna said, no, we'll all go, something has to be done. So they said they will go to Prabhasa Tirtha. It's off the coast of Dwarka. So they were going to go there and pray and do havans. But eventually that changed into a terrible thing there. So Uddhava heard that all this is happening, and he had gone somewhere else. He never left Krishna actually, ever. He comes running back. At that time, Krishna, he's lying on his bed waiting for him. And it is the end of their life, both of their lives actually. So he comes to him and he throws himself at his feet and says, Naham da angrigalam kshanardam abhikeshava tektum samatsya samadamamavavya. He says, I cannot leave your lotus feet even for a second. So please take me with you. I hear that you have decided. I know that you have decided to leave this world because you could have stopped the curse of the rishis. You could have stopped these people from fighting. You did nothing. So I fear that you have decided this is the end of this play, this drama. That's
This
finished. Hmm?
This Leela.
Yes, this era is over. So I know you're leaving. So please take me. I cannot. He says from the age of 12, he met him only at the age of 12. Because till 12, Krishna was in Gokula. So he came, after he came back, that's the first time actually he met, though Uddhava was his cousin. He was a Kshatriya also, just like Ali, he was a Kshatriya. But Uddhava's path or his attitude to Krishna was different from Arjuna. Arjuna was a Sakya Bhava, as a friend. Arjuna, that's why he says, I've called you, hey friend, hey Krishna, hey Yadava. And without knowing your greatness, I've been addressing you in this manner. But Uddhava was not like that. Uddhava had the Seva Bhava, the Dasya Bhava. That always Seva, he was always doing it. He says, I have been wearing the clothes you wore yesterday, I wear today. The garland you wore yesterday, I wear today. The remnants of your food, after you finish, you give it to me, I eat that. Like this, I have been living my entire life. And now, am I to leave you and go? I cannot do that, he said. So, at that time, what he's telling Uddhava is that how he's giving to him, whereas he was giving the duty of a householder and a king and a man who was involved in the external world. To him, he's giving the advice of someone who's finished with his world, who's ready who's on the third and fourth stage of life. That is the Vanaprastha and the Sannyasa. In fact, not even Vanaprastha, actually Sannyasa itself. So that is the advice he is giving to him. So not only that advice.
So should we read the Uddhav Gita at that stage in life or study it at that stage in life?
No. What happens is Uddhava, like Arjuna, he keeps asking, what are the duties of a householder? What is the duty of a brahmachari? Again, he'll describe all these duties.
Okay, so it's universal for everybody.
Yes, it is universal, but accent is always on bhakti, much more on bhakti than in the Bhagavad Gita. Because again and again, he'll give you these examples, that example, this example, and again he'll say, but he who has surrendered himself to me and who has dedicated everything to me, I myself will take care of his all needs. Again and again, that promise is made to him. And in very, very sweetly, many times he gives puja vidhi. He gives him Uddhava asks him how to do ritualistic puja to you, and he describes even that to him, how to do a havan, how to do everything. And then Uddhava says he says all these so many things I need for puja. Supposing I'm in a desert and I can't even find a few drops of water to worship you. What do I do then? Let alone flowers or other things. So he says, he tells Uddhava, has the tears in your eyes dried up?
Wow.
He says, one drop of a tear from my devotees' eyes are more precious to me than any diamond that anyone can give me. So it's the accent is always on that bhakti, that total surrender, prapti, surrender, that. So and at last, one of the most touching scenes is in the end when he knows, Uddhava knows he has to go. And after he finishes, and again and again he asks him, are you prepared? Before he says, get Uddhava Badrinashram. He said, you have to go, Uddhava, you have to go to Badri. Badri Ashram, where I myself, now I'm not to be found in my body anymore, in this planet anymore, but I will be found in Badri Ashram, he says. If you want to see me, go there. I'll be there. So he says, go there, and he says you have to take a bath, going beyond duality. Take a bath in the terribly icy waters of the Alagananda and in the boiling water of the Tapta Kundanta. Thus, again and again, going beyond duality, that's what it means. And you rise up to the highest, and you will attain me at that time. Because now, this is not the time for you. You have some further work to do, he says. And he tells him to go. And Uddhava, of course, is one of the most touching scenes in the whole of that Bhagavad Purana. Uddhava, he throws himself and he says, Namastude Mahayogin Pravannamani Syadimam Yada Tvacharanamboje Yadisya Anabhayani. That means he says, oh Mahayogin, I have surrendered totally to you. The only boon that you have to give me is that whatever janma I have to do, whatever life I have to do, let me have total dedication and surrender and love at your lotus feet. So then his tears are rolling down his eyes, and he just can't leave. And he tells him, and then Bhagavan looks at him and says, in a previous life, when my brother Bharata had to part with me like this, he says, he was also in the same state, but I gave him my padugas, and now I have no need for my padugas anymore, he says. And he takes it in his this thing, and he puts it on his head, and he slowly backs out, and then he turns around and looks at him again, and he sees he's already, Bhagavan is already in a state of a, very the whole place is just filled with light, and he runs back to him again, and again he throws himself at his feet, and he says, but then Bhagavan blesses him and says, obviously gave him the strength. His touch gave him the strength, and he realized that he has to do what his command is there, and he has to do. And slowly backwards he goes, and then he keeps this thing on it, and he goes back to this thing. That's the last of the Uttama Gita, and we have to presume that he went to Badrinath and he spent his last of his days there.
So Ma, first, thanks for that. And I'm very tempted to ask you about Dwarka and to visualize Dwarka, but I won't be selfish. And maybe if we have the opportunity, I'll come back to it. I'll first.
And after you read Dwarkanatha.
Yes, I am reading, so I'm already getting visuals of it. I actually wanted to be selfish and ask for the listeners, but maybe if it permits, we can come there later. But I wanted to actually ask you, because we get a lot of questions where you're one of the few revered people and few knowledgeable people who have written so much about all deities, or multiple deities, with so many books. I lose count if it's 18, 20, 22, and in all their various forms. So the question that often people have is that Sanatana Dharma is so wide, and like, for example, I have a Dasya Ras to Krishna, and it comes naturally to me. So it's never even been a question in my mind that,
anybody else.
who is my Ishta, and is there anybody else? But if I'm starting on the journey, there's this, what nowadays people call the multiverse, so many different universes, and it's deep. All the universes are so deep. With respect to, I think I have two questions. One is, with so many deities, because people ask, who is supreme? Is there a supreme, or is everybody supreme, or what is the supreme? And how do I choose the right deity for me on my path, that this is the path I am supposed to walk? It says I am to be in Hanuman's Leela, I am supposed to be in Kali Ma's Leela or Shri Krishna's Leela. What is the way to decide?
First of all, Hinduism is the only, I don't even like to call it religion, the path given to us, in which that idea of God has been properly defined. No other religion defines God like we have. Because the supreme is that which is undefinable, first of all. Every other religion will say that is such and such a thing, he lives in heaven, and so he's the son of God, or something. Some definition of God. And the fact is that no definition can be given of that supreme. Only in Hinduism do we understand that. And that's why, and unless in any religion, unless you know what the nature of that God you're worshipping, how will you have the religion be correct? That which is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, they define and put into a small little figure of a human type of a figure. what you're constricting and confining, that's something which is so amazing, which is beyond words. The mind cannot grasp it. How can a miserable little mind like us? Mind can go only according to Desha, Kala, Nimitta or Nama, Rupa. If that which has no name and no form, the mind cannot think of. So our concept of the divine is so amazing. That it is formless, nameless, spaceless, timeless, and therefore the mind can never know it. Understand? So though that is the truth, but how can we conceive of that truth? It is not possible for the mind to conceive. Therefore they said that all forms are its forms. There is no form which is not its form. And in order to make us understand that, they give us a monkey god, an elephant god, a river god, a mountain god, a flower god, so that you will not make the mistake to think that God is confined into only a human form. This is the mistake which has been made by every other religion except by Hinduism. And it has been misunderstood by people like them who knew nothing about the greatness and vastness of this amazing theory, not just theory, but the truth. You cannot confine that inconfinable thing into something and put it into a label into something. You want to give it label it. Everything that you see, you can label it. You can what are you worshiping? A stone. Is that stone becomes God Himself because of the mind here. That I have given it a form because I cannot think of it as a formless. Now you have a big blackboard, say a big blackboard is there. Ask the children to go and sit and meditate on that blackboard, they can't do it. But you put a big white spot on it. With chalk you draw. Then say meditate. Immediately focus on that dot. So on that infinite screen, which we cannot see or hear or touch, or the senses do not work there, they have given multiple forms for you to, as your wish, as you like. You might like a monkey god, you might like an elephant god, you might like a Krishna god, you might like a Shiva god, you might like anything. What does it matter? It does not matter provided you know this form is that form of the formless. That is a very important idea behind all this.
So would you suggest that if I'm just starting, then I just choose my heart?
Yeah, in India, actually, all of us have some basic thing. The question is asked to me by foreigners, which makes it very difficult. Because in India, we look enough into our own ancestry and so on, you will find something or other. If not, just sit and do the Om. It's a universal mantra. And if you, enough of that, you will find that something or other will manifest. Or that sound itself of Om itself is enough for you. But in the foreign countries, of course, it's a bit more difficult. And they also can, but for them, I think it's better to, if they don't have any special leaning, it's better to concentrate on just some mantra or Om or something, because that sound itself is the form of the infinite. That is, the mantras are the sounds of that form, the sound forms of that infinite. The yantras are the mathematical form of that infinite. The rishis and the anxiety to save this humanity which is floundering about without any hope of not knowing nothing. They gave them many forms. Forms, actual form, then sound forms, and then mathematical forms. So some way or other, some path or other, they will choose and come to stumble on the reality somehow or other.
Yeah. So one more question I have on this is that, you said that one is you can look into your ancestry, or you can just still yourself and you will find your Ishra. And ultimately that one Ishra Devta is the form of the formless.
That is very important. That idea is very important.
Yeah,
without that, it's not Hinduism.
Yeah.
It becomes fundamentalism.
Yeah.
Like the Abrahamic religions. It's like fundamentalism. Only this is correct. Only this form is correct. Only if you worship this form, you will go to heaven. That is not the way of path of Hinduism.
And what we also find is, I'll come to my question, but I think it's so beautifully explained, because all the bhaktas who are sincere bhaktas, as they get closer to the form, they all start talking about experiencing the formless. So the only way is to be a true bhakta, and the only way, and maybe you can help add to this, but whatever I have understood is the only way to be a true bhakta is to really strengthen the sadhana. So and sincerely with heart, to strengthen the sadhana. And lots of young people, they find it difficult to keep a constant sadhana. But with all the ifs and buts, I think all the questions that I've asked to all the great people, the answer is just do the sadhana. There's no way, you can't have an excuse on it, because you have to have a desire then to connect to the formless. So how do I know that, them in all of us, there must be something, when there must be a spark that, oh, there's a desire to connect to the formless. Like, how do I hear that? How do I, you said, I'm just trying to expand on the suggestion that you gave, which is sit in silence. And when I'm sitting in silence, what do I listen for? Like, what is going to happen inside? What do I seek for? Is that even the right way to put it? I don't know if it's the right way, but I'm just...
But the moment you say, what do I seek for, it means your mind is playing this thing with you. And you have to go beyond the mind. It's something which is beyond the mind. The moment mind starts to seek for something, it'll have its own agenda. It has a lot of things. It'll give you that or this, or somebody else will say something else. And so that silence is very important, where the mind doesn't work. That's why all these things, actually mantras and so on and so on, they're all given for stilling the mind, because it's the mind which is producing this multiple universe for you. Without the mind, there is nothing. You are in that bliss. Right. Like when you go to sleep, in your deep sleep. In deep sleep, there's no misery, nothing. The beggar lying on this thing has the same experience as the king lying on a satin, this thing. So in that state is a universal state. So in that state, there is no misery. Neither happiness also. No, I mean, you see, the moment you say happiness, there is always the opposite of unhappiness. So only the word bliss which has no opposite. That is Ananda. Ananda has no opposite. That's why Brahman is Sat Chit Ananda. There is no mixture of anything in that.
Just to expand a bit on this more, because I'm trying to go into a next section, can you help guide with the context that the form is ultimately the formless for our benefit, so that we can perceive when one gets connected to a deity, what can be some of the I want to choose my words carefully, because I don't want to make it selfish, but what can be some of the beauty that one experiences in one's life through the power of a deity?
See, the deities are actually, they are all over. I mean, even though nothing is real in this world, the fact is that everything is there. To this extent of certain amount of reality is there, because these deities are meant to help you when you are in a, because by ourselves the human being is so weak, our emotions are so strong, our desires are so deep, that we can flounder about in the sea of samsara for eternity. That is why these deities are all little powers of that Supreme. These powers are all there to help you. Just like when you sit for this thing, you have a prop or sitting into this thing, or something, the props are there. That is fine. So these deities, if you approach them, they will automatically help you, because everything in the cosmos is actually ready to help someone who is ready for future unfoldment, evolution. Yeah. So through the deity, it will lead you to the Supreme. It itself is and for the true bhakta, actually, she doesn't care. whether it leads you to supreme, because the whole this thing is that deity is fulfills everything one. There's nothing more than that. But even if you are meant to have that, deity will take you to that. That faith should be there, and it will. It will take you to that, because all the deities are not for grabbing some devotees for themselves, but to lead you to that which is beyond them also.
So, Ma, there's a reason I was asking this question, because sometimes people fear, that I am praying to Krishna, then can I also pray to Shiv, Bhagwan, and can I also pray to Ma Kali? And sometimes people have that fear. So I think what you beautifully answered is already that we can, as long as we come with, what I hear is, as long as we come with Shraddha and with Bhakti.
And also, provided you have this idea, knowledge rather, that everything is that formless. They're all aspects of that formless. So with that idea, you can worship anything. But if that idea is not there, it's only idolatry, nothing else. Which is what the British saw. They said they were all idol worshippers. But with this idea, then, as I said, you can worship anything. Whatever you like, a flower, a plant, tulsi plant we worship. See, this is all given to us. Why? Not because of this, that is so important, but because it makes us mind understand that the divine is in everything, in the plant life, in the river life, in the mountain life, in the monkey life, in the animal life, in the fish life. What about all the avatars? Fish, tortoise. What does it all teach us? Just this point that Supreme can, it is not just can, is in every form of life that we see here. It is not confined to one form and one way or one marga or something like that. It is in everything. That's why we can easily, in Hinduism, tolerate it. The tolerance can come from the fact that we realize that people can worship everything as they like. There are more religions inside Sanatana Dharma than there are religions in the world. Yeah. Each one can have whatever they like. It's great amount of freedom is given. But in some ways, that freedom also, in a way that we not because of that, I think we don't join with each other so much. I mean, that unity is lacking in us.
So, I have a question with respect to what you shared about the Bhagavad Gita. So, we said there are multiple forms and there's the divine in everything. And then in the Bhagavad Gita, we are also protecting ourselves, taking back the message of Adharma. We are also protecting ourselves from Adharma, which is also coming in a form that is also divine. So, what is this play? Because if, and I think that's where somewhere our tolerance or our lack of wanting to fight the Adharma, because we see also that is there. Somewhere innately we see that in that. So, we all become like Arjun in that context, at the first chapter Arjun. So, how do we see that when I intersperse this, that, there is the divine in everything, but I also have to fight Adharma, which may also be divine?
That is why we are, first of all, taught to see that it is in everything. But we are also given in every way, and all our Puranas is given, that good and bad exist together. Good and bad exist. If you accept only the good, you cannot accept only the good. Bad is always there. You cannot accept only happiness. Unhappiness is always there. You cannot accept only. That's why we always want only one side of that duality. We don't want the other side. But we are forced to, we are living in a world of duality. So we have to see that we don't want to wallow in unhappiness. We try to be happy as much as possible. Similarly, when that adharmam is there, we have to fight against that. Otherwise, we will be torn between the two all the time. We have to that, because the nature of the cosmos, the nature of the cosmic dharma is to see that energy floating in everything. But that energy is also in the typhoon, as well as in that beautiful moon rising up there. That energy is in both. We are asked to see that energy in everything. It's only one energy. But that doesn't mean that we don't protect ourselves against this typhoon. Isn't it? We can't say, oh, you can, if you have reached that level. Okay, let the sea come and swallow me. I don't care. And you just walk into that huge wave is coming. Fine. You can do that, no problem. But all of us are not made that. We can't do that. So we have to protect ourselves from that, the rain and the torrent and the lightning and so on. We have to protect ourselves. So that we have to do ourselves. So long as we're living in this world. If you don't want, you're okay. Let the lightning strike me. Go on, go ahead. It will come. Adharma is going to come and kill every one of us soon. If you're protecting this adharma which is going on in this country now, we are supporting it. And all these leftists and so on, we are supporting that adharma. So if we do that, we will die to the sword of that adharma, as we have suffered this so many times in our life. This country has gone through this again and again and again because of this attitude. That we just said that it's okay, everything is the same. Sure, it's the same, but then you must be prepared to take the consequences of that idea, because it is not going to spare you because you are a dharmic person. The fire will not spare you if a child puts his hand into it. The fire will not say, oh, poor child, I will not harm it. No, these are cosmic laws. You cannot fight against cosmic laws. They will automatically do what they're supposed to do. If you're prepared for that, fine. But our Puranas have also taught us that it is our duty to fight adharma when we see adharma. So it's your choice. You can. But Puranas have always taught us this, that we should fight for dharma. If we don't fight for dharma, adharma, and it will happen, it will come and go. After all, nature doesn't care. We are only one of our experiments, the human being. She has experimented so many dinosaurs and things have come and gone without leaving a trace of what they were. So also we will also go that way if we keep on tolerating adharma like that. It will go. She won't care. But if we as human beings, we are creatures who have been given the ability to care, the ability to change. Only in the human body can we change things, can we aspire for liberation. No other body can do that, only in the human body. So having got this body, if we are not going to make use of it, we are really committing suicide.
A slightly different turn of events now. After this discussion on adharma, I've heard you. It was very pleasing to hear it from you at a couple of occasions that I'm not a yogi, I'm a gopi. So there's so many of us listening, and it almost reminds me of what you said at the start of the Sakhya Bhav and the Dasya Bhav. And what's the difference between a gopi and a yogi?
Well, essentially, basically, I suppose they're the same. Yogic spirit has to be there. But the gopi is totally engrossed with that form of her beloved. She couldn't care less. If she gets liberated or she doesn't get liberated, whatever happens, she couldn't care less. Because she's so sure, absolutely, 100% certain that her beloved will look after her, will see and give her the best, which is best for her. So she couldn't care less. That is the basic thing. Whereas the yogi is very determined with his own, he must become that. Aham Brahmasmi, I must become that Brahman. The gopi is not bothered.
From gopis, there's a lot of our listeners who I thought I'll ask you this question, because there's a lot of you've written about both the deities, about Bhagwan Shri Krishna and Bhagwan Shiv, and I thought I'll ask you about their love for each other. There's so many devotees of both who, coming by your larger theme of how it's ultimately the vehicle for the formless to experience the formless. There are so many who want to understand their love for each other. There's a lot spoken about the division, but I would love to touch upon the love for each other in their own ways, how they love each other.
Many of the Puranas have said how much there is love, especially in Ramayana is given very clearly. When Parvati and Shiva are going, she's watching the Rama getting so upset over Sita being taken away, and Parvati says, "Why are you going after this man? He's just an ordinary man. He's not a." So he says, and he gives her a vision of him as a supreme. But he says he's playing this drama of life over here. So, but you don't understand how that is how Vishnu works, because he is the supporter. He's the one who in charge of the manifested this thing. So he's the one who obviously takes avatars and roles and plays. Role playing is mainly his thing. So that's one of a very good place in Ramayana, which he shows how much he loves Vishnu. I think there are many other things, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't recall them at the moment. But where they showed how much they love each other, how support each other, and so on. That's obvious. They have to. It's not. It's only the human mind which creates, because if they bring them down to that, miserable little human level we are in, and then we project things like they're jealous of each other, they can't bear it. This is all, usual tricks of the human mind. It doesn't exist in reality, I don't think.
So the other question I have is, I know I'm understanding your message, and I'm kind of deliberately going in this, Lord Ram that you've spoken about. I was also very curious as to, we've just finished Diwali, and it's become so ingrained in our culture. So a lot of the writings that you've experienced or you've given in your books, so many of the behaviors, the rituals, they become so ingrained in our culture. So how did that happen, with respect to when we are talking about Sanatan Dharma as a whole? The messages that I'm receiving is that it's this built for you, with so many variety of permutations and combinations, with so many you can mix and match if you like, and ultimately it is to go deeper, purify yourself, experience a bhakta bhav, and then really do it. And the way is in the doing, it's not in anything else. And through these ages, so much has been ingrained in our culture. Like Diwali is an example. So for Lord Ram, what were some of his qualities for his bhaktas to experience, and then how did Diwali become so ingrained in India?
Actually, all these festivals were a method by which people could keep on remembering all these, avatars and so on and so forth. And every one of our festivals are always connected with light. Somehow the light is because we are born with light is caressing that. And when at the time of death also, we are put into fire, and that is light. So that light is a very important part for most of our festivals. And again, the fact that not only in Rama's, Diwali is not only connected with Rama, it's also connected with Sri Krishna. I don't know if you know that. That's the day on which he killed Narakasura. That's why we have Naraka Chaturthi before that. And he released 18,000 princesses who were incarcerated by Narakasura. And they couldn't go back home because they had been living with this monster, womanizer for so long. And the parents wouldn't take them back, and nobody would marry them. So they threw themselves at his feet and said, "Please marry us." So that's why he agrees. He'll marry the whole lot, big jing bang lot of them, 18,000. It just makes no difference, because that is to show how he supported the fact that these women, even though the society would shun them, he was prepared to accept them. And he takes them all back, and that is the day of Diwali day. When he takes them back, the whole of Dwaraka is lit up to welcome him. So that this is also connected with Krishna. So all our festivals are connected in some way or other, all to keep alive the stories. The stories. These stories have to be connected, because that is something you cannot talk to a child about Brahman and the Atman and so on. But you tell them little stories of the various avatars, and you bring them festivals, and in that story is woven some message or other. So that is how the spirit. And also we have these kathas. We didn't have books in those days, but people used to go from village to village to village, and they would sit and read the scriptures and they tell the stories and so on. It was very prevalent now. I think the katha is being done here. Moraj Babu is doing Ramayana katha, I think. No, sorry, in Rishikesh. I'm totally mixed up where I am now. I'm in Mumbai now, not Rishikesh. Okay.
But Ma, that's a beautiful reminder too, especially I think to the parents listening, because if we can, I mean, you've just given a totally different perspective to what I was trying to ask, which is that every festival is an opportunity to connect, and every festival, especially for a parent, is an opportunity to take their child further towards that.
Exactly.
That's just
it's very important. That's why they interwove these festivals throughout a year. Every month has something or other.
So I have two more questions. I had more, but I'm going to skip many of them. My last two. You spoke about Satchit Anand, and I wanted to try to break down the difference between Khushi and Anand. If you could help guide on that.
Yes. Don't you have a word opposite of Khushi?
Dukh.
There you are. that happiness has unhappiness, sorrow has joy. You cannot have one without the other. They are what is known as counter correlatives. One cannot exist without the other. Because you cannot know what is happiness unless you have experienced unhappiness. Like a person living in the sun does not know the meaning of light because he has never experienced darkness. So these are counter correlatives. You cannot understand one without understanding the other. Whereas Ananda has no other counter thing to that. Ananda is bliss. And where is the opposite of bliss? Nothing.
What does bliss feel like?
Bliss feels like when you are eating a nice, you like those those guavas, I think. You're munching it, that's a drop of bliss, maybe. Bliss is something which you cannot explain there because it has no counter correlative. Yeah, I can explain sorrow because I say, have you had joy? Then I can say, this is the opposite of that. But bliss, there is no counter to that, no opposite to that. So you cannot explain. Bliss is bliss. There's nothing more to be said about it.
And Ma, one of the things that blocks us from Anand, I assume, or what keeps us trapped in this world is Maya. But I've also heard about how Maya Shakti is actually a Shakti that we walk through and learn from to really achieve or experience Anand, not achieve. Achieve is the wrong word. So what is Maya and how do we, Maya is all around us. So can we try to maybe quantify Maya for today's world? And how should we look at that Maya in the quest to achieve or experience Anand?
All these questions you're asking is in the middle of Maya. All the questions, all the doubts, all the things we're thinking, all is Maya alone. And where does it come from? From your mind. Your mind alone is the creator of Maya. This Maya world is created by the mind. When the mind is not there, there's no world. In deep sleep, there's a world. And it's a state of bliss for everyone. It doesn't depend on the hard mode you're sleeping or the soft bed you're sleeping. It doesn't depend on that. It's a state of mind. It's bliss. And it's a very important part of our everyday life. That is why nature has given us. If we did not have that deep sleep in which we are away from Maya, we would go crazy. Psychologically speaking, it is nature's way of keeping us sane. If we did not have that deep sleep, every day that is given, because the whole day we are running around like rabbits in a cage, doing the same old stupid things and same old experiences, and the hate and the like and the happiness and the unhappiness. Whole time we are running around like, rats in that little cage of theirs. So it, absolutely essential that every person should have at least a small amount of deep sleep, not trouble sleep, not dream sleep, but deep sleep, in which they are free, totally free from that Maya, totally free from that mind. Otherwise, they'd go mad. So it's nature's way of seeing that you keep sane by giving you this. That is Maya. Maya is something that ya, ma, sa, ma, ya. Ya, ma means that which is not.
Okay, sorry, last question on this. Then if the mind, how then should I be using my mind?
Your mind, first of all, you understand by the intelligence, buddhi. There are 4 aspects of the mind, mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. So that buddhi is very important, because intellect has to be convinced that this is the truth. That is why jnana is stressed in all our literature. Before bhakti, jnana is stressed, because that knowledge has to be there. As I always say that bhakti without jnana becomes fundamentalism, which is what is happening in the other religions. They have lot of bhakti. They're all bhakti, high bhakti cults. They're prepared to die for their religion, die for their God. We are not prepared for anything like that. They're prepared because they have no jnana. They don't realize that their God is not interested in their dying for them. It's not necessary at all. Live and see that how it is, that is what they should. So that jnana is very important. That buddhi has to be firmly convinced that this is the correct right. And it can easily, because Hinduism is the only philosophy and religion and culture which gives absolutely scientific truths which are being proven only in today's scientific world. Only religion. So if a person, if they shut out their buddhi, of course, that's different. That's what all these people who, they just shut out. They do not accept anything which is intellectually told to them. But a person who actually uses the intellect, he will realize this is the truth. So that is first important. Then only you can start to go beyond Maya. When the intellect is convinced, then only the mind will realize that this is a state of Maya I'm living in. Like nowadays, the children also have this. They have this multiverse. What a metaverse and multiverse. They put on these headphones, and they're in another universe. With it has its own, and the little avatar will go around, and if it follows the rules of that metaverse, it's fine. If it doesn't follow, off it goes. It's very similar to what you are experiencing now. So long as we follow these rules, we have to follow these rules. Even though we know them in Maya, we have to follow. If you jump off a cliff, you will die surely. You can't say I'm a free bird and jump. There are certain rules in that.
Hima, I think that I have run out of my time now today. I've received so many bombs of wisdom, and thank you so much for sharing it. Can we close with the closing prayer?
Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Vajrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Loka Samastat Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samastat Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samastat Sukhino Bhavantu. Hari Om.
And that's it for today. What a conversation. I really hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments, inputs, anything that you feel like we should have asked more of, please make the comments below this community that we can engage with and we can add value to. Looking forward to hear from you and looking forward to see you next time. Till then, enjoy and please do hit the subscribe button if you can. Thank you.